What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Game On Improve Your Health podcast. My name is Austin J, or hallucinodream, if you know me from the gaming community. And tonight, as always, we are being joined by my lovely wife and co-host, Christina. Thank you for joining us again this night, today.
It's my pleasure.
It's always your pleasure.
Yeah.
And today, we are going to talk about mental health as a whole. We're going to start. We went over most of the basics. We'll touch back on the basics periodically, but we are going to start going over, various things like we have been, and applying it to gaming as well, not just real life situations. Well, gaming's real life, but you know what I mean. Not just
It's not real life, but whatever.
Not just outside of gaming situations, but we're going to tie it into gaming and how it affects or can help improve your gaming performance as well. So,
I'll start.
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
So this is basically just going to be a chat. We don't have any talking points or anything. We're just going to chat back and forth about mental health because it is a very large epidemic going on right now. It hits everybody. And it's hitting people even harder because of the pandemic. So this episode's about mental health, and again, Christina will start just like she said.
Well, so I wanted to start because I didn't want to lose my great kind of idea or I guess first point that I wanted to talk about. So when we were talking about this episode, I am not somebody that feels like I struggle with depression, anxiety, stuff like that. So for me, I was like, well, I don't really know how I will relate to a mental health episode. But then I was like, well, I feel like that's the stigma on mental health, is that it has to be depression or anxiety, but mental health is really just everybody can deal with it on a small scale or a large scale, and there are things that can improve your mental health whether you have these kind of pre-existing conditions like depression or anxiety. So I think that it's something that everybody can improve on, and and I feel like we need to kind of lose the stigma of it just being around depression and anxiety.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a bit outside of just depression and anxiety that can affect your mental health or be classified as mental health. And like Christina said, she doesn't feel as though she necessarily has suffered from depression or anxiety in that fashion, but there's definitely, and I'm sure if she really thinks back onto it, there's been situations where she actually has been depressed, or has built up anxiety, but in her mind she doesn't classify it as that because of, I would say, the stigma against all of it. So
yeah, well, and I feel like it's not I think that for me, it hasn't always been so severe that I've ever, felt the need to kind of classify it. But I think that, like you said, there definitely have been points in my life where I have been, more anxious than others, or I have been more depressed than other times in my life. But as far as clinical depression or anxiety, it's not really something that I've dealt with, but I mean, just any type of anxiety and depression, I've gone through breakups, I've had a baby, I got married, talk about anxiety, but so there are definitely different times in your life, during a pandemic, oh my God, how anxious were we when we brought home a brand new baby into a pandemic, so yeah, I mean,
nerves were shot.
Yeah.
The first still are, actually, so still ongoing.
He still
so
barely
that's
leaves the
part
house.
That's part of mental health as well, as the nerves. And yeah, the severity. So mental health can be classified as, so there is the chronic, like Christina said, and then there's the day by day. You could be fine for a whole month, and then just one day you just have so much nerves, anxiety. Yeah. You could be just down one day.
Yeah, or you can get into slumps. I mean, I think I deal with most of my stuff based around body image issues. For me, that's a trigger. I've always been somebody that's pretty self-conscious, and to any time that I don't feel like I'm at my physical best, or really more than when I think about it, it's whether I feel good. So it's not necessarily I literally could look the same from one week to another, but maybe I ate better that second week. So in my mind, I have a better body image issue or a body image because I feel better. So for me, that's always been a trigger for a lot of my, like, any issues that I've had. So I mean, after having a baby, like that, my kind of anxiety or depression from that sense was definitely there.
Yeah, and we're going to, again, this is a chat. We're just talking, so we're gonna be siphoning through a lot of different things. We're probably gonna be bouncing off each other, going a million different directions, I'm sure. So this is how we talk to each other, usually on a daily basis. Just throwing that out there. I need to say something quick before
Well,
and I'm probably gonna forget.
normally he interrupts me when I'm talking on a daily basis, so I will be interested to see if that comes out today.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's not going to because, and here's why, and then I'll get to my points. I am taking courses to get my master's in exercise science and wellness, and I am working on being a wellness coach. That's one of my certifications I'm going to get, which is great. That's one of the things I want to do. And the class heavily focuses on not cutting people off and listening. So not cutting people off is something I have been working on. I've been doing better at listening. It's a different story. Still listening, just not as much as I probably should be. But, disclaimer, we are not physicians. We are not, any kind of specialists. We're not doctors, okay? Yes, this is all just, a lot of it's going to be anecdotal, and then, some research-based, information that we are giving out.
More research based on his part. My part's just
but a lot of
pure experience.
Yeah, a lot of anecdotal, which if you don't know what that is, it means it's anecdotal. So experience based, okay? So
I don't think it counts if you use this word in the definition.
True. It does count. You don't know. And so I lost my train of thought. What did Christina say? She said a bunch of stuff. It was very, very good stuff.
I said that I have body image issues.
Body image. Let's start with that. That's what I want to. That's one thing I want to talk about. So body image issues is, I would say, and you can add on to this after I say it, but that is something that a lot of people suffer from. Not just you, male and female, or any gender that is out there, and. A lot of people suffer from that because of social media. I would say social media is the biggest reason for that because there are all these models and, influencers on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it may be that are taking all these pictures and these pictures are altered. And a lot of people, especially the younger generation, don't really understand that these pictures are severely altered and this is not a healthy form of, what these people look like. And some of these people, if you really dig deep, some of these people actually aren't even happy with the way they look, and they're the influencers. They're the ones taking these pictures. They're the models. So you can't. One thing, it's easier said than done. But one thing you really need to steer away from is, especially if you suffer from these image issues, is comparing yourself with these people on social media, especially these people on social media, or the people in movies, or because another thing is these people have millions of dollars for the most part, or millions of dollars worth of help that they're getting to be able to look like they do. And again, some of them still don't really like the way that they look. So easier said than done, but that's one step that you can take is to try to, and now we're getting into tips, of course, but one step you can take is just, and you can still look at the people, you can still follow them and stuff. It's just in the back of your mind, you got to say, you know what? That's how they look. I'm how I look. And just, I accept how I look. I like how I look. If there's something about me that I want to fix, I can try to fix that and, go from there. But try not to say, oh, this person looks way better than me. I don't look like them, and then let that basically, just set you down a downward spiral. That's just unhealthy and sort of unrealistic because of everything I just listed prior. So you can chip in on that if you...
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, for me, there have been times when, like, I've just not even been able to, like, go on my social media. Like, it's like I don't even want to scroll through the feeds because, like, all I know I'm going to see are these, like, Instagrammers and their bikini shots and like whatever, and I just like I know that like I wasn't in a place where I would be able to see that like at that moment. So I mean, there's definitely been times when I've gotten off of social media, taken a little bit of a break, and that's always really helped. And then just getting back to like to the basics. So, and it takes a while, like, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it takes a while to retrain yourself into thinking, okay, so why am I feeling like this? What changed? So asking yourself these questions of like, well, why did I feel good last week? Or why did I feel good a month ago? Being able to ask yourself these questions will start for you to really like put patterns together of like, well, I was eating better. Like, oh, you know what? I did a no drinking and a running challenge. So I was regularly working out and I was not drinking and I was eating better. I felt really great. Maybe let me try that again. So then, bringing those kind of things back into your lifestyle. So again, for me, like so much of my self-esteem comes from how I feel. And if I feel good, then in my mind, I look good. And I mean, I think that goes for everybody, no matter what size you are, no matter what gender you are. When you feel good, you feel good. Like you feel good about yourself, and that just overall lifts your mood.
Yeah, so feeling good would boost confidence. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about is, and we're not going to get into detail on this one, but your gut health. So if you eat well, right, 1 week, it's going to improve your gut health, and your gut health controls a very large majority of everything that goes on in your body, including how your mind works, and it will alter your mind. So if you, because it starts inflaming your body. I'm trying to cut this down. But if you eat unhealthy the following week, let's say you eat unhealthy 1 week, you feel good that week, you eat unhealthy the next week, now you're getting inflamed, you're getting irritated, your mood is starting to be altered, and if your mood's starting to be altered, your perception of yourself is more than likely going to be altered, as well as your decision making and a slew of other things. So, trying to maintain a healthy habit, and just like Christina said, you can, if you aren't 100% sure, how or what you did to try to, or to be able to feel good a specific week, pull out a log and just a journal and write down maybe, oh, I did this exercise, or, if I did exercises and the stuff that you ate, you don't have to be super detailed, just, stuff that you ate that week, or you can just do a couple of days, because keeping a daily journal is kind of difficult. So, and then just reference it back and be like, oh, I did this and it worked out a little more often, or I walked more often, and that could, contribute to it. And of course, all of this stuff, we're going to tie this into gaming quick. All of this stuff right now can be tied into gaming too, because I stream on Twitch myself, and I have seen quite a bit of people who just recently, and including some very, very, very large streamers, very well-known streamers out there, who their mental health is just getting hammered, and I'm sure it's due to just, everything going on. The pandemic doesn't help anybody again, but they are also comparing themselves to other large streamers, and that's, negatively affecting their mind and their mood. And when you do that, you compare yourself, not only because, or I'm not 100% sure how they're comparing themselves, but maybe it's a follower base, or maybe they're getting more viewers in certain days. But that's going to be like them also comparing themselves I mean, it's a cascade effect. You're going to look at yourself and be like, well, this person looks like this, and I look like this, and they do this, and I do that. And that's just, it's unhealthy. It's not worth doing that, because you're your own person, right? So people who play video games, and I'm talking about streamers right now, but this goes for people who just play in general, because a lot of people watch streamers too. But try not to compare yourself to other people. That's not, nobody, like, you are your own person. You cannot actually be compared to somebody else. Nobody can really compare you to somebody else and make valid points out of it, because there's only you in the world. There's not another duplicate of you, unless you have a twin, and then you two are kind of sort of almost the same person. But
I'm trying not to interrupt, but I have a quote. So we actually just one of my partners at work.
Time out. We're keeping a scoreboard now. She interrupted
I
first,
know.
so
One of
she has one. We're gonna go do it this way. Higher score loses.
one of my partners at work, we do a huddle every week. It's a whole thing. But so she was asking like, hey, you know what? Have your parents ever, gave you some like really great advice? And one of our employees said, my mom always told me no one can outdo you like you. You are your only competitor. Nobody can outdo you like you. That was super fitting right here.
That is a very good quote.
So,
that was worth. You still have 1 point for interrupting, but that was worth the interruption. But yeah, so we'll just talk about streaming, but what we're gonna get into for the gamer aspect, of course, we're still talking about, but we're gonna get into just even competitive gaming, but casual gaming too. If when you're comparing yourself, yeah, you're really just when you start. Let's start the cascade effect. I'm in a good mood. I'm streaming right now. I have quite a bit of viewers. Somebody starts streaming. Some of my viewers leave to go watch that person. I can see this person because Twitch, we'll use Twitch as an example, continuously updates. And now I'm getting a little discouraged because they are getting more viewers than me. Now my mood is starting to dwindle. My gameplay is starting to dwindle because my mood is being effective. Maybe because all I'm doing is thinking about this. I'm not listening to what my teammates are saying. So now I'm missing calls and I'm missing plays. Now I'm not communicating like they are. Now my mood's getting even worse because I'm playing poorly. Some people might not understand this, but your mood, and I am going to show proof. I just actually clipped some proof of your mood changing mid-game or from game to game, where you play well. It could be the same day. Your mood's changing. You can see it, and you're playing significantly worse. Your aim might not be good enough. I'm talking about, like first-person shooter games, but strategic games too, because when using that cognitive, trying to outplay somebody in a strategic game is very difficult when your mind is just racing somewhere else, right? And you're comparing yourself and you're dwindling your mood down. So it's a cascade effect. It's going to stop, and then you might stop your stream early, and then because of that, let's say you might just go, whatever you do afterwards, or you might just sit there and watch TV because you're just in a bad mood and not be productive. Let's say maybe you had you're a streamer and you had to make some YouTube content after this. This happens to a lot of people, but you need to try to. This happens to me. I don't necessarily compare myself to anybody, but I do get bad moods for other reasons, and I stop creating content. But maybe you stop creating content and then you fall behind that day, right? So, and then it could potentially still carry over to the next day where you're like, oh man, I fell behind, now I need to try to catch back up, and that ball keeps rolling. That snowball continues to get bigger and bigger, and we're on a very, very large downward spiral. So try not to compare yourself regardless. That goes for competitive players as well. I kind of covered that, but just even the social players, like if you're playing with your friends and you're in a bad mood, we're talking about comparison right now, but there's other things you can do for different bad moods, and you stop talking to your friends are going to, be a little upset, especially if you're just playing games where you need to talk, you need to communicate in regards to what you guys are doing or playing. So try not to compare yourself, even if, even in the small stuff. So because again, what Christina said, that quote was very powerful. Nobody, whatever the quote may be, nobody compete with you like you can, right?
Nobody can outdo you like you.
Yeah, not compete. That's a bad word. Nobody can outdo you like you. So that's a very, very powerful quote. So,
yeah. Well, and I think, we were talking about kind of like logging your, just kind of like logging like your food, or like, so like for me, like, oh, I, was eating this, or I wasn't drinking. So like just start keeping a log, like just in general. Doesn't have to be like, oh, I ate this or I did this today, but just kind of keeping a log of like how you feel, or like what you're going through that day, or just like your exercise routines, your food, like just a overall log. If you know that you're somebody that struggles from week to week or day to day, just so then you can kind of look back on it. I was just thinking, like when we were saying that, like that's what we kind of used to do when we started giving our baby solids. It was like, okay, this made her gassy, this made her, and it's like we all kind of have sensitivities to things, whether it's food, drinks, lifestyle, like whether it's going out, whether it's watching something, like we all kind of have sensitivities to things that are going to make us feel good or bad, right? And so it's like, well, we do it with babies, because we don't want their stomachs to be upset, right? We want them to feel good. We want them to be happy. So why don't we want to do the same things for ourselves? So just keeping a log, I think will definitely help.
Yeah, and the log doesn't have to be strictly for food. Like she
Yeah.
said, the mood. So, I mean, if something
Like
sets you off.
I had a good day today.
Yep.
Like, okay, and then maybe jot down a couple things like, oh, I finished a really big project at work, or a team member complimented me, or I gave out a compliment to a team member. Like, that makes me feel really good when I compliment somebody, because then it makes them feel good. Or just like anything that like made you feel good or made you feel bad. And then if yours is kind of like body image related, or you struggle with getting on a healthy nutrition, diet, or lifestyle, definitely jot those things down. So, I mean, I think we always go back to, and me especially, like nutrition and diet, can really aid or improve a lot of these issues. I think Jim Carrey had a quote saying, I believe that mental health issues are real, but if you don't eat well and exercise, you're not giving yourself a fighting chance. And I don't know, that's always just resonated with me, that I get it. Like, these things are real, and even if you don't struggle with it on a daily basis, like if you don't work out and you don't eat right, you're not giving yourself a fighting chance.
Yeah, that's also we're using quotes today. It's also
I know, I'm just pulling them out.
Seriously, it's also a very powerful quote, because, and you'll hear us talk about this on the podcast quite a bit, is that nutrition, really especially, but I mean, they go hand in hand, so you really need both, but nutrition and your exercise will heavily impact your mood and a lot of things, including your mood. So we're talking about basically your mood, and your mood will impact your, mental health, because it's sort of related. But that's a good one. So, I mean, you got to try to really eat health. And for those who haven't started your routine yet, if you haven't, you're not really going to understand what we're talking about until you start your routine. You start your routine, you get into it for a little bit, you keep going, and then this happened to me at the beginning. I've said this before. I'll say this a million times again. I started a routine. I felt great. I fell off. I could seriously feel a difference. I was very shocked, because I was like, in the back of my mind, I didn't even realize I felt that good after starting, cleaning up my eating habits and starting my exercise routine, and then stopping it. I was very shocked that it wasn't actually cliche, that I actually felt terrible, and that's what pushed me to go back, which was very, very good and a very powerful tool. And that was just me. I didn't need anybody else. I mean, people told me, and again, I thought it was, and again, people told me that all the time, but because I didn't start anything yet and I didn't know, I didn't even know that I didn't feel that good, right?
Yep. Yeah, you don't even realize how bad you feel.
Yeah, I didn't realize how fatigued I was all the time, how little energy I had compared to when I started working, and that my cognitive function and my cognitive ability, including my memory, was just absolutely terrible. I knew my memory was terrible, but and I tried fixing that with like herbal supplements and stuff, which you can't really do. I mean, that's a good aid. It's just you have to add that with exercise and nutrition, and that's a topic for another day. But there's so much that you'll realize it once you start. And obviously, if you need any help to start, anybody needs help to start, of course you can reach out to us. I'm a personal trainer, so I do train people. I can get people started.
I'll just tell you what to do. So.
Yeah, or you can.
I just like to boss people around.
You can ask Christina; she'll tell you. But so mental health is a very, very big impact on not just life in general, but your game of performance as well. And there's some things you can do to try to combat that. And in severe cases, you can definitely talk to somebody. Talking to somebody, you may be surprised if you bottle everything up and then you go talk to somebody and you actually get stuff off your chest, even just one time, it's going to actually make a difference. I didn't believe that as well. It's another situational thing. Christina said at the beginning, and I probably should open with this as well. Christina said at the beginning she didn't necessarily She hasn't really had chronic depression or anxiety or anything. I suffered from that to the fullest of extent many, many years ago. It wasn't even that many years ago, I'm not gonna lie. So
Yeah,
I
like
would
just
say
many years ago, not many, many.
yeah, many years. So just many years ago, I suffered from depression and anxiety, and I had, because of the depression, I had some pretty heavy anger issues, and everything was adding up, and it was just absolutely awful. And everything that I said, and of course this is anecdotal. This is there's individual variances. Everybody's gonna feel different, but everything I said earlier basically happened to me, where it was a cascade effect, and I mean, my decisions were terrible, and I mean, it was not, looking back on it, I mean, it was not as, I mean, that's not how, it's very hard to explain. I can't even explain how I felt. It was not, looking back on it, it was not what, like, I would have wanted for myself looking on it now. I mean, if I knew that I could have ate different and worked out and actually would have done what people were telling me I was going to do, I would have maybe executed that a little sooner than I did. But I, again, like a lot of people did, my mindset and my mood and my mental health was preventing me from doing that, because because I was in such a bad place, I just thought that people were telling me stuff that I wanted to, or they thought I needed to hear, right? As opposed to what was actually some facts, really.
Yeah, well, and I feel like sometimes people that do have like clinical or like chronic depression and anxiety, I feel like it could come across as just like a slap in the face of like, really, you want me to exercise and eat right? Like, that's gonna fix my problems? Like, I don't know. To me, like, that would just be like, really? That's gonna solve my freaking problems? So, like, I think that sometimes when you're in that, like, mode, when people say that, it can kind of come off maybe as minimalizing it. That's the word. I don't know what minimalizing is. Minimizing.
Something.
Yeah.
Something cool.
Yeah. It could just come off as minimizing your problems or your actual kind of issues. And again, it's not going to cure it. Like, that's not what we're saying, but it can help you have, even if you have if you have chronic depression, right? Like like really bad anxiety, isn't 3 days out of the week of feeling good better than nothing? Like, even if you just start with eating better and working out, and like, even if it gives you 1 day or 2 days or 3 days of feeling better, like, isn't that enough to just try it? That's kind of like, I feel like where I always come from.
Yeah, so let me backtrack myself, because you're absolutely correct. I should have started with, there's a couple things. Again, this is chatting. We're going to talk back and forth. I said that a million times already.
This is like exactly how our conversations go.
I should have also started with that as well, where I did suffer from all this stuff. And I'm telling you, when I tell you, I'll bring people on the podcast who will confirm how bad my depression actually was, and the state of mind that I was in. And I'll make sure I minimize what they're actually saying, so they don't say too much. But I'll bring people on just to show you. But yes, exercise and fixing are helping, and working on your exercise and nutrition is not a miracle worker. It's not going to simply take away and it didn't do it for me either. It helped. So from my experience, and this is all anecdotal, like I'm saying, everybody is different but for me, just changing that, people did say it was going to help. They said it would increase your mood and do this and do that. Correct. It did help me with that. This is anecdotal again, and I do believe that, just like Christina said, it will help you with your mood, even if it's just 1 or 2 days. But if you do that, and let's say you work out 3 days and it only helps with 2 days, 2 out of 3 days is still good. But what happened with me was I started doing all this stuff, working on myself to try to bring my mood back up, to try to defeat the depression and the anxiety that I knew I was having. I was one of those people who refused to talk to people, so I didn't. So I wanted to do it myself, which is another step that people need to take. Is you need to realize that you want to make steps forward. Anyways, but what it helped with me was it gave me basically mental clarity. So it started clearing my mind because I was feeling better, and I was able to think about exactly what was going on and what was going on through my mind, and I would think about all this stuff. And again, this is anecdotal, and this is what I went through, but most of the stuff that I was severely depressed about and I was getting mad about was very minimal to me, or in general. Well, it wasn't minimal to me, but it was minimal in general. And it was like when I started working out and eating right and thinking about all this stuff, I really put things into perspective and how I could minimize those thoughts and what I was going through, especially the stuff that was technically minimal. So like right now I would say it was minimal, but back then it was massive to me, right? And what I was able to do, because my mind started clearing up because I was doing all this stuff, is I was able to basically remove those negative entities from my life if I was able to, or transition out of that mood where it's like, I'll give an example. At one point for many years, everybody was against me. There was no good luck in my life. Everything was against me. There was nothing I was going to be able to do at all that was going to change that. And then I started working out and eating right, and I was thinking about that. It's like, that's not that situational, obviously, but I was like, that's not really what's happening. I don't even think that can happen. Right? I don't think anybody can be stuck in bad luck forever. And the whole world is most certainly not out to get any person. That would be very strange.
Especially not you.
Especially not me, an unknown person in the world. But I mean, that would be something you see in a crazy sci-fi movie. That's just like, but realistically, I was able to start thinking about it realistically, and it's just like, well, that's not really the case. I mean, nothing's really out to get me. I might have streaks of bad luck, and as a matter of fact, this podcast is being recorded now. Last week, I had a severe streak of bad luck with computers, and this and that was going wrong, and that was going wrong, and I just threw it out the window and proceeded forward with my life, and now everything is still mediocre. But no, I'm just kidding. Everything is fine. Like, but it was getting me frustrated and everything, which is so it happens. But that's what happened with me. It helped with my mental clarity, and it helped me move forward from there, which helps. It's just like the cascade effect can bring you down, it'll start bringing you back up. That's what I should have started with and said. And it's not a miracle. It's not gonna you exercise and man, there goes your depression. That's not how it works. You have to work at it, really, which is what I did.
Well, and I think that take the situation with your computer. I have to hear about that computer one more time, but
I'm going to talk about that a lot on the podcast. Now we're even. I just interrupted you. Sorry.
I think you even interrupted yourself earlier, so I think you're 2 for 1.
Interrupting yourself doesn't count.
But like if you were, years ago when you were, in this state of depression, if that computer like situation would have happened to you and you were on a streaming grind and you were doing really well and then like something happened with your computer, I guarantee you probably would have stopped. Like that would have been a wrap. I'd be like, well, the whole world's out to get me. I guess it wouldn't have been, I guess it's time to call it quits. Like where now it's like, if there's a will, there's a way. So like now, because you're like, well, you know what? It's not the end of the world. I have other material. I have other ways to stream or to play or to do whatever it is that you do up here, you found a way to do it. So, it was like a week setback, not months of setback.
Yeah, setbacks are never, so yeah, taking the computer, I guarantee you in the past that has happened to me, for sure. I can tell you that I used to work on Xboxes. I used to fix Xboxes, 360s, and I can tell you one time I was fixing one of them, something happened, and I did have this one sold, by the way, so I'd sell them up front, I would customize them, I'd fix them and customize them. This one was actually being customized, so it already worked, and I would customize them with LED lights and stuff. It was very cool. Maybe I'll try to find a picture and post it somewhere on my Instagram. Anyways.
Nobody please don't message him asking him to do this again. He's out of business.
I most certainly will not do that ever again. Anyways. You have 2 interruptions, by the way.
I know.
So I was doing this customization on this Xbox, and I forget what happened, but it was insanely minor, something I could have fixed. I got so mad. I took the Xbox and threw. I was living in the basement at the time, so it was concrete floor if I walked outside of my room, and I threw it on the ground, and it shattered, and it didn't break enough, so I freaking stomped on it. I'm not even exaggerating. That's a true story. That was, oh my, I don't even know. That had to have been just about 10 years ago maybe, but that happened, and yeah, so I didn't do that this time, right? So that's all, yeah, situational. There's another example. So work on yourself, working on it. So yeah, was it frustrating that that computer sent me back? Yeah. Did I send it back? Yeah. Am I in the most ideal position since I don't actually have a new computer? No, but I'm making do with what I have, like Christina said. And you know what? It is what it is. Eventually I'll get another one, but until then, just make do with what I have. It's really not a huge deal because, downstairs my baby is sleeping. She's healthy. My wife is here. She's healthy, I think, and she's not sleeping. And that's the most important. And well, I'm healthy too, so that's all very important. And I say this. I've said this I don't think I've said this on the podcast yet or on stream, but your health is literally the most important thing you have. So I tell Christina all the time because she's driven by money. She loves money. But if you don't have your health, you don't have money. You can't do. If you don't have your health, you're limited on what you can do. So your health is the utmost importance. So when you think about it, that computer situation is minor compared to, everything else, really. So.
Yep. And, being in a good state of mental health, just benefits your relationships, your family, so you don't want to have, a negative family situation, right? So, like, just, being able, like, if we are struggling with somebody, if we're struggling with something, like, we're able to talk to each other about it. And just even maybe sometimes communicating, like, I don't expect him to be able to fix it. I read somewhere that somebody asks, like, if somebody's venting, like one of their family members or their significant other, like, okay, am I fixing or am I listening? So, like, just letting somebody vent and talk and having a safe space to do that helps tremendously. And just having a good family or significant other or friends, friend relationships that you're able to do that with is really helpful.
Yeah, that's again, I can go over my past a lot, but I would say that definitely affected my past, or that affected me in my past was my friends. I can tell you some of my friends stopped talking to me for sure, just because of how I was and how I was acting and just everything. And my family, I would definitely say, had the same effect. But now, you can, looking back on it, it's like, all those relationships have been mended, and it's because I'm in a better mind state, and of course I'm saying this goes for everybody, and this goes online too, for your friends and your online family that you have too, because that's a very powerful thing when you're playing video games, is that I'm going to talk about what Christina said. That's one thing I started doing, was talking to people. Now I used to never want to say anything to anybody, but I realized that that's a very powerful tool, even if that person might not have anything to say, just getting it off your chest. If there's a problem with somebody you have, or not just with somebody, if there's a problem you're having, just talking to somebody really can help. And that goes for your online gaming as well, especially if it's in regards to friends that you play with constantly, because let's say there's something going on and you just need to get it off your chest. I mean, like I said before, if your mood is altered, your performance in the game is going to be altered, because you're maybe not going to be talking, maybe you're not calling out spots or something, or where somebody might be coming from to flank somebody, and this and that. I mean, millions of different situations, but communicating is very powerful. That goes for all life situations, basically, including gaming. And this is working on your mental health is not going to be an overnight thing. I mean, it's definitely, if you're one that suffers from depression or anxiety or anything really, it's going to take a little bit of work. You just got to realize if you make 3 steps forward and 1 step backwards, you still made progress.
Yep.
So I couldn't even tell you how many different times I stepped backwards before I actually, really stepped out of that. And I can tell you, there's definitely times where I still feel like my mood goes down a little bit, but it's never. I mean, it's only temporary. Maybe like a day, right? That my mood is, and it's always just a gloom type mood. It's not really I'm super depressed or have all this anxiety, but it's going to be a little bit of work, and just a good tip is learn to communicate and learn to get stuff off your chest. People generally have people they can confide in. Find that person, talk to them. It's going to be scary at first, especially if you haven't done it. But try to get stuff off your chest. I bet you it. And if it doesn't help, the first and that'll only be the first and last time you have to do it, right? So it's worth a try. Work on some health and wellness, nutrition and exercise. And of course, if you have any questions, you can ask any of us. And we are working on building a community for people to talk to, even anonymously. So that's in the works right now. But
Alice is a great listener.
She's a great listener. She can't.
Doesn't even. Yeah, she's not going to tell anybody your secrets until she. Maybe a couple of years from now she will. But
she really can't interrupt either. So because you can't talk. So
yeah.
She can scream.
Yeah.
But
so it was a lot cheaper than paying for a therapist. So he just talks to her all day. So
she's a pretty good listener. So, what else? You have anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right. I think we're gonna wrap up the episode. This was a very good chat, really. Of course.
Yep.
It's gonna take a little bit of work, and I know it's easier said than done. I can tell you that firsthand. Definitely easier said than done. I had a handful of people tell me that, but if anybody has any questions on anything we've said, or just wants to reach out and talk, or any anonymous chat,
or wants to just use us as people to talk to.
Correct.
Or
any anonymous, anybody who talks to me is always, regardless if I know who you are, it's always confidential. I mean, I'm not a therapist. Again, we're not a therapist. We're not doctors, or we can't we're not certified in those sorts of ways, but we will keep everything confidential, so you can come and talk to us. We can give you advice, tips, or just be here to listen, right? Because we don't interrupt anymore, right?
Nope.
You have 2, I have 1. By the way, I win. And if you have any questions about exercise or nutrition, you can reach out. I do have a 90-day at-home program. It's $100 for the program. It's resistance bands and body weight. So if you are, that's perfect for beginners. It's geared towards beginners and gamers to help increase everything we just said, as well as your physical fitness, your cognitive function, to help you with your games, of course. Good for beginners and anybody who might be transitioning to online because the pandemic's still going on. So you can go to onepunch.net. The link is over here on your left, or it's in the description if you're listening on the podcast. And it is right on the front page. It's the 2021 promotion. You can fill out the form, sign up. Spots are limited, so it's first come, first serve. And that will get you in. It has an interactive app with the workouts, videos, direct chat with me. They just added on the app where you can basically FaceTime with me. So if you have any questions, we can FaceTime. And I can help you with your form if you have, form issues and this and that. So go in there, find some information. If interested, reach out. If you have any other questions when you're getting started, we'll answer any questions. Even if you don't, go with us for personal training, of course, we'll answer questions. And, go from there. If anybody has any questions on anything we said today, we'll have a follow-up and question and answer next week. I don't know what day next week because our schedule is very strange, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's the week of March. So the week of March February 28th to March 6th, because our week started on Sunday. That week, Wednesday or Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing a follow-up and question and answer. So any questions that come in, we will answer those or anything that we missed. So you can do that. And again, my name is Austin J, or hallucinodream. All my links will be in the description. And my lovely wife, Christina, she doesn't have any social media, and that's hidden until further notice. And thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next week.
Bye.